Hey everyone, just a quick PSA to say that I goofed up the name of the general who lost the election and was cursed last episode. It was not Quinn. We try and get stuff right, but please never use us as a factual accounting of what actually happened. LARP and one's memory of events is a weird thing. Right, on with the show.
Big Saturday.
It's huge. It's Saturday, E3 2022, and it's immediately going into the battle, basically.
Who is the battle against?
So we're fighting against the Druge, and we're fighting with Urizen, Highguard, Dawn, and the League. And basically, I should probably have said in the previous, in Friday, but basically, when we got the War Scouts report about what we were going to be going into, bear in mind, I have no idea how the whole War Scout game works, all of that sort of stuff, so that's all very alien to me. But basically, there were lots of things that we kind of had sort of half information on, like there will be this thing, but you'll find out its exact property when we get through the gate. So
that doesn't sound...
Yeah, there was lots of stuff. But it was cool because it actually set up quite an interesting battle where there were so many unknowns. We had to kind of discover it on the field. It's very tough, actually, as a battle to operate in a way where information was having to be fed to people as it was revealed. That was quite interesting, just on the way information passes along the field. But the main objective that we understood was to find and kill a target, which was basically like this. Essentially like master kind of thing that was and then it had like a bunch of like sort of underlings, essentially the way like apprentice versions of it, essentially.
Like a magic.
Yeah, and we would know who the 6 other targets were through the way they were kind of dressed, and they'd all be carrying these bags basically that was full of herbs, and if we could retrieve the bags we would get all the herbs, right, which is like a valuable resource.
Sure.
So there's that, but the other thing was we didn't know the location of the main target. So there were 4 sites that were identified where, I think it was 4, I might be wrong on that actually, where there could basically be this ritual performed, and if it was performed, it would basically reveal the location of this character that we had to then go and kill.
Give you a direction of where they were on the map. Right?
Yeah. I had no idea what that would be, bear in mind. I assumed in my mind it would be a flare, and I'm pretty sure it was a flare in the end. But basically...
I think it was like smoke.
Yeah, or something, however that... I have no idea how pyrotechnics works, but whatever. But yeah, we had no idea. I had no idea, certainly. And we're kind of, so that going as in a strategy and where we're going to sit and how we're going to operate, and we're moving, how we're going to sort of engage in the battle. It was really cool to have that, and everybody was like, I was walking around, everybody checking it, everybody was, good to go. And it's like just even organising yourselves and having a chat.
Me and Bung walked down with the army on the way out, just to kind of see, those were Saturday for Sunday ST, but but just seeing everyone muster was really cool.
So
good.
Good.
Sending everyone off to war was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and singing, walking down as Navadu, singing, all of that. But one of the really cool things that's part of being in the Navarches is that we have this amazing singer in, I'm going to pronounce this terribly, Yelona. Her sort of character has this song that she wrote, which is called Fly Free, Fly True, which is like a song for the Navarches. And she sings it before the battle for us all, and we're all singing along with it. And just having that as a thing in the group is so cool. And it's properly badass.
Yeah,
right?
I think especially in those moments, musicians, singers, big public speakers can make all the difference for everyone's engagement in what's happening. Right, the immersion of especially song is amazing. Right,
other people as well started singing and things as well. It was cool. It was really cool. It was super duper cool. And then. Basically, the strategy was Dawn, as far as I know, went in first, then we did, and then Highguard and the League and Urizen were one or the other behind each other at the back.
Didn't the League fight on Sunday?
No, I don't think so. If I'm wrong about any of this, then like that's fine.
I'm pretty sure the League fought on Sunday.
Okay.
Or maybe it was Mercenaries fought on Sunday. I don't know.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
it's a lot, by the way, to take all of this in, because it's like...
It's always hard to say with the League as well, because they are mercenary. They often are on both battlefields, right? That's very often happens.
As with everything, you're getting my memory version of this, which is probably flawed.
You don't need to carry. Yeah, it's fine.
So when we first went through, we basically moved with the Entwine Pass, screened along the line, just basically advanced line forward. And basically what it was on the field sort of section, there were these kind of reasonably sized blobs of Druge, essentially. Some in the woods and some on the field. And it was like, we kind of moved against them quite quickly. And I think that, and these were tough fights as well, it's important to say these, and with all of the complexities of different blobs breaking off from each other and taking channels, especially if you're going into that first part of the woods, combined with like fighting on the actual field against another reasonably sized blob, everyone seemed to do extremely well. I mean, I was like sending people to join different bodies of troops, and I was like, telling people, you take your people down here and do that and come back and tell me and stuff. Everybody was really passing information along very well. And there was like a stage where we were getting like just occasional kind of skirmishes along the holding point where the gate was, which is where we knew we had to get through, which is like this area that leads into a deeper wooded section, essentially. And I assume Dawn, might be wrong, had taken the gate and then made us a beachhead on the other side, and then we were going to move through it. But there was enough skirmishing forces to basically kind of keep us, so we had to keep a body of troops back there. So it reached the point where we basically, a group of us kind of led like a swing round to then kind of hit them from the side in the woods and actually allow the force to go forward. A flanking maneuver, yeah, basically. And then we kind of crushed this body of troops quickly, and then basically went back to go through the gate. So I took the Navarchers through then, and there was a good blob of Navarre that started filtering through then. I'm not sure if there was more fighting that emerged, just more skirmishing units behind us. Whoever was part of the rear guard were fantastic, because I never heard any problems about it. So I'm assuming that all went absolutely like fantastic. So, but during the course of all of this, and this is in the outside section, before we go through the gate, I saw Sinwig's body like laying up against a tree, and the craziness of battle, right? Like, even when you're doing really well, or you think you're doing really well, it's actually very hard to have a perspective of how different areas of the battle are going, and people can get swept away and die. Yeah.
Is this another person that you've witnessed die, Ian?
Well, no, I didn't actually see them die. I just saw the body.
I
just saw the body, and basically, so he was like leant against a tree. I honestly not fully sure how it even happened. But so it was like a moment in the battle, and I went over to his body, and like, I was talking to him, and obviously he was still like, he was terminal basically, and it was a lot. Like he had like blood all over him. I leant in him, and I had like blood smeared on me going through the rest of the, like his blood on me as I was going through the gate. It was like, it was a lot. It was cool. So the thing is that and we're about to enter like the toughest part of the battle, right? And it's not been easy so far. There's a lot of complexity and all the stuff that happened before that to get to that point. And then, so I have to be like, okay, let's get everybody through the gate. Like, I need everybody to move. So I got all my people through, and obviously went.
Did you get Sinwig's body back?
I think somebody stabilised him to the point where he was able to walk back.
Okay.
I bear in mind, I don't know how that works. ICOC, I've not died before. So I don't know how, like, you could probably say better how it works, because I honestly don't know.
Sinwig is also my in-character husband, and my LARP husband, Sinwig, Callum, he's like a really great dude. We love RPing with each other, and I knew he was going to die, like, and it was like one of those things where you're like, okay, like, Callum's talking about wanting to move nations and like all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, really supportive of him wanting to do it, but like at the same time, it like, dude, losing Callum sucks. Yeah. So everything that comes after this is like one of those big feels things where I'm like, oh man, like,
there's a lot of things involved, and that's why I think, I think it's actually really cool that we as people have got a relationship where, as I say, somebody can do something like that, and actually everybody might be bummed, but they actually really support it. You know,
we'll have lots of time to talk about this stuff. Actually,
yeah, we'll get there.
We should probably get on.
But yeah, so I had to kind of really push that, because that's a lot. I know that's going to be a big moment back with the whole Entwine Past, everything. The ramifications are huge. So then I'm like, but I have to sort of like get everybody through the gate. We gather in there. We've kind of made a bunch of sort of salients in different places, and we're basically trying to find these bag holders and sort of get these rituals done, as far as I know.
What do the bags look like?
I never saw one. I literally never saw one. But yeah, no, I heard a lot about them. Yeah, there was lots of people like occasionally running around. But it's kind of weird because I'm in the middle, as where I try to position myself. So, and in the middle of like a semicircle, if you imagine that as well. So, and I've got Silver leading his group at first on the left, and him sending people back to me, telling me what's going on. But like, even me with my withdrawn position and a perspective of where I am, I can only look at the portion of the semicircle where I am really, and get like, I rely on them heavily for like what is going on and where I need to deploy people. It was so good though to have incredible people who will do that, like transmit the information in that kind of way, and the way that we could move and shift forces was. It was so impressive. I was just so proud of everybody.
Communication's OP, and when you have good people doing it well, it's very, very strong, right? Like,
and it was so I was able to basically, we just got into this kind of pattern of sending some of archers on each flank of one of those kind of static lines.
Are you behind the line? So there's a line in front of you people.
Yeah. So it's all basically, all of this is reliant on incredibly, like, you know, the people being good at their position of holding, and it's holding all of these different salients as well. So it's not like a big long line; it's lots of broken points. And if one starts to go, then that threatens another in a dangerous, a vulnerable point, right? So you have to hold certain places at certain times. And it's hard. It's honestly hard, right? Because the other side, surprise, surprise, is actually very fucking good, right? And so, yeah, we kind of got in this pattern of putting kind of groups on each side of a line and basically shooting in to whittle them down. So then we could kind of push the lines up and help control the flow.
Is this in the woods?
Yeah, this is all in the woods. So this is basically, think of it like pressure gauges going up and down. We're basically trying to like push out certain walls to crush certain areas, so then we can redeploy places to other places, right? That's basically how the battle's going from my perspective. All right. So, and all the different nations are involved in this. Like, I'm seeing all that, and different nations are coming through at different times. You know, it's an empire battle, so it's crazy, right?
This battle is like, what you want to be doing is pushing and threatening, right? Because you want to be able to find these bag holders.
Yeah.
So in fact, getting into... There's one thing that I find interesting about a lot of Empire fights is people might go out on the field and be like, well, that went really well. And it'll be like, well, all you did was hold the line or do something. Yeah. And even holding the line can be a victory sometimes, right? Like, indeed. It's... but yeah, I love this idea of trying to chase all these bag holders and get loot off them. Especially telling the players there's loot in them bags is like... Yeah. Red rag to a bull, right?
But it's important to remember, as I said, the other side is very fucking good, right? They're filled with extremely competent people who are very good at what they do and are also very organised and know just where to hit you. So there's points where we get overrun. And there was a point where Caro, who is newly elected to this general position, gets taken out like way behind lines, right? And it, you know, the classic Caro. This is becoming a habit. I'm gonna. There's an intervention coming. Don't you fucking worry about it. But like, I'm like, you know, it was so bad at first, just to stabilise the line, I was like, we can't lose. Just literally, just like Fire said, we can't lose all these people to try and get him. But then we stabilised, basically, we managed to pull some forces in and stabilise it. And then we could basically get some archers in position. We kind of made like a push with a bunch of spears and shields and just mad craziness to basically just push it in, pull him out. But it was crazy. Then what happened after that? It was just like the ritual had been completed. Which, bear in mind, I hadn't actually weirdly not seen any of the rituals. I could kind of hear them, but I couldn't see any of them because where I was positioned and how I was moving and just making myself visible and stuff. And all of a sudden, this smoke goes off, which immediately, like, there's a massive amount of Imperials at this point. If like I'm in the main heart of it, right? I could, everywhere I look is fucking Imperials, and this flare goes off in a corner, and everybody moves. Right? Is it like like one of those video games where someone just like drag selects the whole army and clicks there, right? Right there is where we all will go, and all the nightmare and all the awesome that's involved in that was crazy. Like all of a sudden, it was like whole areas just had like swaves of people redeployed to it, and just like in a massive grinder of death. It was crazy. So, but if you do that, then there's multiple flanks that are immediately extremely weak, right? So we're constantly getting pushed as well. The Droosh were phenomenal. Hats off to all the monsters.
I love fighting the Droosh. They're the best.
Such a good foe, right? Sneaky,
they're
tricksy,
mean, poison.
Yeah,
they're bastards.
Kill the fuck out of them.
Like,
death to the
kill
Droosh.
them. They'll kill you. So might as well kill them first. Great baddies.
Yeah. They're so good. So, and everyone LPs them really well. Like, I love the whole, like, they're just dicks, like real fucking dicks,
absolute wankers, aren't they?
Yeah. Like they'll taunt you in the ways that like an absolute dick does, but like Anyway, so once we get the objective, and it was over before I got there. So I realised I wasn't going to get over there, and probably all the people I saw weren't going to get there either. So I just got them to deploy with me along basically the flanking line to try and hold it for when we got the thing, because I just assumed that many people were going to get the thing, and I'm not going to be part of it, right? So we're kind of helping that sort of backline withdrawal basically now as we're kind of going through. But it's pretty spicy. It's pretty spicy at this point. It wasn't easy to organise it in the way we were able to organise the previous battle in the second event.
Hard, right?
This one was really hard. They did such a good job hitting us on the withdrawal. Different people going down. At this point, the battle had been crazy, I think. Like, really hard. Like, I was tired. Everyone was tired. Like, people were huffing. And, like, they got to these bits where, like, someone would take someone down. Like, an Imperial would go down, and the lines would, like, withdraw almost from each other. And, like, people would, like, taking, like, slowing the tempo, right? Just to sort of get a moment. So then it was like, do we push in and try and get that person back? Or are they going to roll over? And we try, right? And that was so cool. I led multiple
there's
like retrieval missions.
The down in no man's land or just behind the line is always a really tricky emotional situation, isn't it? Like
it was tough. So there was this literally happened like 5-6 times with different groups, like different nations. At this point, it's full withdrawal madness, right? Like you've got the 12 to 20 people around you, and they're from anywhere, right? And you're like, you people, I've got like one of Archer that I can see, so they're coming too. We're going to go get this person and get them out right now.
What the fuck do you mean by you people, Ian? Jesus.
It was so... No, it was so cool, but super hard, like really hard. Like, and you win some, you lose some. There's some people we didn't get, and that's crazy to like literally have to give up on like trying to retrieve someone because you're going to lose people. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that was really like...
What are the casualties like? Do you know?
I have no idea. I think quite a few people actually died. Like, we were successful, but I think quite a few people died.
It's always interesting, especially non-comming, the vibe of when people come back from a battle. You can really tell what happened. They're like, hey, we won, but it's not like we're mass celebrating. It was hard, right? Like,
and the thing is, you're happy about like the outcome is really good, right? Really good. But the losses, especially for us, like we've lost Sinwig, we know that for sure. Right, we've lost Sinwig, and we're basically at this stage. Caro got taken down again, and one of these drives had to be to get Caro back. And look,
he gets elected to an army which he's been working towards for ages. And the next battle, he's down behind enemy lines.
Look, I love you, brother, but
mate, mate,
the craziness. I love it. I actually love it.
I appreciate the live hard, die hard mentality.
Caro's like literally one of the last people out. Right, it's crazy.
You gotta forget.
It was super. I managed to basically get it was really bad. Right, it was really bad. Like at this stage, most of the army had gone through. It was me and the very kind of last body of people before we're out. Right, and everybody else does not give a fuck, right? They're out, right? So it's, and like Caro goes down. I'm like, geez, we've got to get like, it's like the general's down. We've got to go get him. And it's like literally, I don't know if they're coming to get me. I don't think they're coming to get me. If I'm down at that stage, I think they leave me.
Hey,
it's that kind of situation. It was crazy. So we rush in and we get him, and this was very, very touch and go, because this is one where like I will sacrifice, right? And it's that kind of thing where you're like, you know, you're drawing sword at that stage, and you're literally like pulling him out. It's crazy. We get back, and I have no fucking idea how we did that, but we get back through the gate, and I'm basically the last one out, and I'm absolutely huffing. I'm so tired. Like it's mentally been a lot, physically been a lot, so I'm just really, really tired. But the at the same time, like the feeling of it actually like going well, like the energy just suddenly came back, and I was just like, fuck, that was really good. Like, you know, it was so good, and like I was so proud of everybody. But basically, just because I was sort of taking my breath, and I was sort of, you know, the last one out pretty much, it was like so I was kind of at the back, and then one of my basically an OC thing happened. I can't really talk about it.
Don't talk about it.
No, but it's more a case of what the result of this, and I wasn't sure how to deal with this as a rule, was I was so far behind enemy lines resolving this that I didn't know how I was supposed to get back to the players. You know, am I supposed to walk back with my hand up? Or do I, like, I didn't know mechanically how to do it.
Right.
So I ended up being really, really far back behind enemy lines, right? And basically having to come back. So I did it IC.
Was there any refs around?
I just didn't think. I didn't know what to do, and obviously I was really tired. I think in the future I should find a ref.
Always find a ref.
I just at the time,
although that can be just as like, I shouldn't dissuade people from going to refs. Go and find a ref.
I honestly don't know. It was just an interesting place to find myself. But what happened was anyway, I IC'd it, so I just had to run back. Like, I'm deep behind lines, and I don't even realise how bad it is until people call out like there's an Imperial behind like enemy lines. Like, they're calling out from a ways off.
I would say, in my opinion, find a ref. If you can't find a ref and it's been like a big OC thing, just lift your hand up.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly didn't know.
If you were with people before the OC incident, then fucking...
Yeah, anyway, it was just one of those things. It was one of those things. It actually turned out really cool, but I just thought I'd bring it up because it's like, I think in LARP there are a lot of things like that, which is at the moment it's very hard to, you know, and you're tired,
it takes
right?
time, right? Like, all this stuff is skills, but like that's a great example of something where it's just like, find a ref.
Yeah, I should have done.
This isn't a criticism or anything, but it's more like kind of like, I understand, like, in the heat of the moment. Like, I completely agree. I've had moments like this weekend as well, which is just like, in that moment, you're so hepped up and like ramped up emotionally for what's happening because of your RPing. It's like, it's hard to remember to kind of have a safety check, you know.
I do this sprint back though, and this is the other side of it. This is what's actually really cool, because like I do this sprint back and this call goes up, and then very, very kind of sort of deeply lored people in the podcast remember there was a character in one of my first battles I ever went on who was Urizeni, who basically I fought alongside, and like during the course of the battle, it was a pretty decent battle, and we were kind of like, we just were, you know, just taking a 2 minutes. We just sort of talked OC, and he was like, I'm not really feeling my character, but I think I want to, like, I really enjoying what we're doing, so I want to do more of that. He was just one of these characters who are kind of like, every time I just see him on the field, I just give him a nod, because it was just like one of those cool human interactions. This guy comes running out of the line, right? Like fucking great sword ready or whatever. It was crazy. And just like comes running out to cut people down behind me so I can run back into the line. It's so cool. It was like, I think he knows who he is, and I honestly can't remember his name right now because like I really know him.
Hey, you got to pay your debts, right?
But he's so cool. Like, what a great moment.
Nice.
And the great thing about that was that immediately put me back in, and then I was like super hyped. Like, the battle had gone really well. I just got out of like a near death thing, right? And so that's the whole other side of it, right? And then I'm with my Navachas heading out the gate. Like, I'm pretty late out, right? they're already huddled and they're like, oh yeah, you're here. And it's like, it's so cool to be like, we all did really well and just enjoy the moment. Like just the hype in the group, the energy levels in the group were just so good. Like such good people giving great vibes to each other. Amazing. And then basically just the wild thing was I had to just be like, Silver, realistically, I've got to get ready for this fashion show, which I know is a crazy bonkers thing to suddenly throw out at the end of all of this. But are you okay sort of taking over organising some of the skirmishes?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And he just, like, by the way, like, I can't praise the guy enough. He was phenomenal all event. I think he really loved it. But, like, it's a great game to give someone, actually, but, yeah, I mean, it's a lot to ask of somebody as well, right? So he was phenomenal.
I think, if anything, these last few events have taught me is, like, honestly, people are looking for game, and like if you're like, hey, take over this responsibility, if people are kind of in that world, then most people are going to be up for it.
It's seeing people really do it as well. When you get people who get, like, you actually, not only do you want them to do the thing, like, you really care for them that they do it well, and then they do, and you're so proud of them. It's those kind of people that you get, that you meet these people in LARP, right? And so I just basically had to head back to camp and sort of get myself prepped up for the fashion show. And it's hot, by the way. Bear in mind, like, this is a really warm event, and I'm having to, like, totally shift gear and get myself in a totally different mindset. And I am actually really nervous about doing this, but strangely at peace with it almost at this point, right? It sort of goes in weird places. But while I'm going through all of that, you are at the Glory Square for a fight.
No, hold on. You forgot one thing. Losing Fang.
Oh, yeah. But
you lost Fang.
Yeah, I found out about this. This was weird because...
This is what happens when you leave Fang with the auxiliaries and the scouts. They are like the crack Suicide Squad, okay? Like,
the scouts are amazing.
But they are so exposed and get wiped out so easily. Like, those guys, like, oh my God.
I don't know. I think it was like...
dude,
look, I see
in that battle...
Yeah.
They had a rough old time.
They do, but look, anyway, look, I see it. Like, people do really fucking well in tough situations.
No, dude, like, it's because of the role they play. It's not because of their ability of them as a player, right? But, we lost Fang. Fang, our darling boy, who came up from being a young kid dropped on us to now being a young man, and he's joined our group, and it's really, really great. And what do? He gets killed. Yes. Look, now he gets killed.
Look again.
Hey, I can't take the battlefield right now, Ian. I have medical issues, and therefore I can't take the field.
Look,
could someone take some responsibility for Fang?
I hate to say, I'm afraid I did not see the incident in question.
Ridiculous.
But no,
shame on you and Twine Paths. Shame on you all for losing Fang. Dear Fang.
Well, I think, I don't know if it was then or in a later skirmish, we also lost Ash, who was like a new player who joined us as well, and who, like, actually had a lot of fun, like, interacting with, like, the character interactions were really cool. But, like, you know how you just meet people like oh, they're kind of cool, but you don't. Yeah, it's just a shame when someone
dude, it sucks. Yeah. It's like we took some absolute massive casualties this time.
Yeah,
but we're gonna get into it, by the way, folks. We're gonna get into some real emotional shit.
Yeah, it gets heavy later.
God damn.
Go on, tell us about this Glory Square fight.
So basically, I was like, oh, sweet. So hopefully the motion should be passed at Senate, and I think the Senate was at 2:00. I want to say, if I'm wrong, correct me. But so we're like, hey, we should go and seek out the Zadkiel, who's going to put the motion forward, find out what's going on.
He is Dornish, right?
He's a Dornish noble, so we headed over there to go and find out what was going on. And we're like, walk around to the camp, and it's like, so the Glory Square is surrounded 3 deep, okay?
Wow.
There's musicians there, there's like, it's a real, and all the nations are represented, okay? It's a real...
Oh, is this the wizard competition?
This is a crazy fucking show, okay?
Oh, fuck.
Okay,
I really wanted to see this, by the way. This was one thing I was sorry I missed out on.
We rock up there and, like, walk around this huge crowd, and I'm like, we're in game face mode, okay? Like, me and Bung are like, we're here to do a job, and we get there and we're like, oh, he's not in his big fuck off tent, right? So we're like, I'm like, oh, I see him.
Yeah.
he's in the group that are about to go and do this thing. So we walk around and we find Orion with his Varushkan group all like chilling, watching the thing, and they're with the accordion section, and there's like he's got his guitar, and it's like ridiculous. So we rock up basically, and then each group walks out. There's 3 in each team. And they have an announcer, okay? And the announcer kind of gives them a big old send-up, you know? And then like some groups don't, but most groups do. And then it's just like your all-star list. I saw senators out there. I saw like cardinal. There was just a whole bunch of things. What did I watch, Ian? What did I watch? Yeah. Tell me what I watched. Is it a Battle of Wizards?
I think so.
Because the magic on display was outrageous. It was like... everyone's cheering, and it seems like one person from each team goes in at a time, and they fight, and when they get knocked out, someone else comes in. But there was loads of jiggery pokery. Oh my god, the jiggery pokery involved.
It's a bunch of mages fighting.
People
it's gonna be
coming in from outside. There was like people double teaming. There was like
there's gonna be some Slytherin fucking Harry Potter going on.
But there were some fucking titans in that fucking thing. There was this one lady, I yelled at her and said like she was a fucking badass later in the weekend because I saw her walk past. I literally went like, "Did you fight in the thing that?" And she was like, "Yeah," and I'm just like, "You're a fucking badass." But there were some absolute like, really fucking good to fight basically, and it was like getting towards 2:00, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, how many senators are here? That should be in Senate right now, right? Like, but everyone it finished before 2:00, but. Absolutely bravo to everyone involved. Really, really fun to watch. Went to Senate. Turned out they were going to put the motion in the evening. This obviously is making Gellert like extremely concerned at this stage, okay? Because this motion has been pushed back so far at this stage that I'm like, oh my god, like, is Zadkiel playing like 4D chess with me? And I've been completely scuppered by like the idea that someone's going to be like, I'll do a motion for you. Then every time it comes up, it falls through. I'm like, oh my god, like, have I been stitched up here? But that was awesome. But so it didn't go. The fucking thing didn't happen. But there was an election for Miarin.
Yeah.
And I'm from Miarin.
Yeah.
So I went along to cast my vote, and it was tough.
Very
oh my
tough.
God! And bear in mind,
candidates are strong.
Hey,
right?
Senator Leafy has been a constant source of, and I'm talking IC here actually. OC, he's really like, he's been like a guy that's like good to like decompress with for me, but like IC, he's been really helpful in kind of just talking about how to do things. Anyway, really like the guy. He's up for election, and it says a lot that the candidates were so strong. I was like, man, I don't know who I'm going to vote for. Like, it's like,
it was a really tight one.
Yeah, it was. Leafy came out on top in the end, but all the candidates were excellent. Yes, like really, really good, and it was a close run thing. So
I think this is what I loved. Again, it's exactly the same as the general positions, right? Like, honestly, we're just, there's a real depth of just amazing people.
There were no bad candidates up there. They were all very worthy of the position. Yeah. So it's hard to overcome an incumbent, especially when they're as competent as Leafy is. So, but it's a testament that they went that far. But hey, go on, Ian.
All right, so I decided for myself it was probably good to get to the market early because I just couldn't hang around the camp and worry about it. Right, I thought I just have to throw myself in and do the thing. Mm-hmm. So I head down to the market. Talk to Hazel about like just last minute, can I help with any of that kind of stuff. She's got everything under control and is like, it's just amazing, just so good. Like, I did very little to help, like just anyway. So then I sort of basically decided I'm going to make some big bubbles. I've got all this stuff. I've got all these.
So you bailed from the skirmishes because you were too busy organising the Navarre, the No, I just wanted to establish a timeline. I just wanted to establish a timeline.
The timeline is...
I've got a curious mind and I'm asking questions.
Okay.
So palm off all the skirmishes, go and get ready for the fashion show.
Yeah.
during this, you're like, I need to go and make some bubbles down in the market.
Right.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just want to establish
No, okay, yeah, I know how bad it looks. But it was, I'll say this, it was necessary for me as a person because I needed, I know, but like, it's interesting because like I needed to sort of really go, like, get into the performance of it, right? And like, because that's the only way I thought I would get through it, because I thought, because at first it was going to be a case of like, maybe we had like these write-ups of what their costumes were about and stuff. I was going to be reading those out, and I was like insanely nervous about having to do that. But when we get to the actual show, Hazel just did everything basically.
Yeah, and I'd say this is a good idea, right? Like, if I was doing something like that, I would literally say, me reading off of a sheet is probably a bad idea in this situation, right? Like, I know my limits.
Yeah.
Have someone that's confident at doing it, and then riff off them, right?
Yeah,
like,
and that's how it ended up going down. But one of the things that happened while I was making my bubbles pre the show was just, it went really well. Everybody really loved it, and I was kind of going around blowing like little bubbles, making big bubbles. Kids are amazing, right? Like, it was a lot of fun doing all that. But while it was going on, I was trying to make a show of it, right? Like, it's kind of a thing, sort of like a crowd engagement kind of thing almost, right? So I was, doing all the things like, too late will be the cry when the man with the bubbles has passed you by.
Yeah, I heard you quote in Lock, Stock.
Look, it's a damn good movie. I shall quote it. But
let's keep going. You're expressing yourself.
I am expressing myself, it's true. But I found halfway through doing this that I had this kind of thing that when a good bubble came out or something happened, I'd be like, oh, yes. And then, like, when something like, when it was like a particularly, I developed this weird, like, I went deep on some stupidity. I came across this thing where there's such a thing as rondology. And it's like the search for like it was bubble stuff basically. It's super stupid, I know, but like,
why rondo?
Because it's not like, it's rounder than round, so it's a rond. Like, it's dumb shit, right? Like, and I have to say, like, everybody was very good at putting up with it, because like, it's one of those things where you honestly don't know where the lines are and what you should do.
Sure.
So, but it's going off, I think, pretty well, hopefully. If anybody didn't like it, I'm sorry, by the way.
Okay, I think there are ways that you can ground all of this in the world.
I like to think my performance kind of worked with it.
But are you, like, I would lean into that you are a performer then, right? Like, and that's part of, like, and I think that's part of half magic as well, right?
It kind of is, yeah, kind of. That's kind of how I'm doing it.
I think it's worth trying to think about that and conceptualize it within boundaries of the game. But yeah, hey man,
it called out really well.
I heard the kids absolutely loved it. It was a nice little display for everyone. But yeah, let's talk about your fashion show.
So the fashion show is due to start. We basically there's these wonderful kind of the market where it's based is just like an awesome place to go now, and they've got all these benches that had recently been made, and we sort of set those up like a runway, right? And there's these sort of fires, kind of. There's like a bunch of them that go down in the market, so you kind of use that as like the end of the runway, and then you come around and come back, right? And right, like we kind of met all of the people before it started. There were really good vibes, but everyone's nervous. Like, everyone's nervous. Loads of people turned up, right? Loads of people, and I was kind of like, at this stage, I've been doing all the stuff at the bubbles. I'd been really kind of doing the whole Talus kind of thing. So like a bunch of the times before the show started, I was just kind of like walking around where the catwalk was going to be, just going like, oh yes, 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 and just like blowing some bubbles and kind of just waving my fan and just generally kind of walking around the place, like giving bubbles to people. Yeah, and then it was like, when it starts, Demeter just like reads off like all of the stuff, all the people come out who like look and perform, because bear in mind it's like a lot to ask people to like stand out and do all of like a catwalk and stuff in front of people, like, all that kind of stuff, right? It's a lot. I mean, and they were fantastic, like absolutely incredible. And I'm just kind of like walking around essentially as like, I guess like the hype man, right? The hype man for the show, just like walking up and down the crowd, just like cheering for people, saying how good it was.
I heard you were very hype, Ian.
I was hopefully very hype. Hopefully everybody liked it. But it was just a really wonderful show of like just pride in the nation. It was like awesome, just everybody coming out.
Hey, I thought it was really cool that people got to show off their kit. It's like, especially from the Navarre, like we're not known for that. I think it was like I was standing next to Vespasian, and we're watching the very end of the show, and you are on another planet at this stage, but everyone seems to be having a good time, and it's like. He said, like, I thought I had pride in the nation, but he's turning up to 11. I think this is true. You are. Like I said, I could be critical of it and say, like, I wish it was more grounded within the world. But hey, on a simple interaction level, I think loads of people got loads of fun out of it, and I think it was really fun. So yeah.
Yeah. Afterwards, we're kind of mingling. You know, there's the classic mingling after a fashion show. And also, you're just really hyped, right? So it's a bit like, it's almost like the energy after the end of the battle, right? Where everyone's just really excited about doing the thing, right? Yeah, an adrenaline dump. And the Looking Glass are in the group of people mingling. And I ended up, like, I didn't even realise, I just started talking to them. I'm, like, really channeling, like, Talis stuff right now. And then they're just asking me about, like, my... look, right?
When did you get the bowl and the straw?
Oh, we'll get to that later. We get to that later.
Okay, I just want to establish
that's not at this point. I would have loved if I'd had the bowl and the straw at this point.
I'm sure you had your fan out though.
Oh, the fan was out. It's bonkers stuff, right? And I'm strutting around, but I didn't even realise that the Looking Glass. Like I'm riding some crazy place, right? And then I realised they're taking notes and saying and stuff, and then they're asking me questions. I'm sort of telling them about, like, you know,
oh my god,
all this kind of stuff. It was like I've never done anything.
Interviewed by the press, while you were like fully. Jesus.
Hopefully, look,
that's going to be an interesting read. That's for sure.
Hopefully, oh man, it'll be so good. Like that's one of I was.
If the word "fabulous" isn't featured in that fucking article. I'd be very surprised.
But honestly, just mingling with people after the show was really, really good fun. Like, just a great crowd of people. And there was just a great energy in the market, all event in general, actually. After that, it sort of flips around a lot. I mean, what are you kind of up to at this point, actually? Because there's a whole bunch of things. After the sort of the fashion show, are you kind of...
Oh, God, I can't even remember, like... Generally, I walked around a lot and then tried to chill out as much as I can. I had a nap at one stage. That might have been when I went for a nap.
Right. And you did go for a nap, yeah.
I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I was absolutely beat. Yeah, I think I went for a nap because there was nothing else I could do in that moment. So I was just like, I got to just fucking put my head down for an hour. I think that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Exciting, I know, listeners.
No, I think actually though, isn't that... Like, there is actually something to be said for, like, a power nap, right? Like,
man,
getting some rest.
Dude, I did not, like... I need to make more time for fun and, like, separate, like, stressing about, like, stuff I'm doing with my ambassador role compared to not. Actually, I'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah. Ian, talk through your stuff, man.
So, I got back, and then a whole bunch of things happened. There's an inquiry about a potion that's been used in, like, a past memory. Mm-hmm. And this is, like, in this memory, there was a sort of description of this potion, essentially. And I was able to identify what it was and what the properties were from how it appeared, basically, potentially.
Okay.
Which is just a fun little game to have, right? It's just interesting to like, you get those kind of inquiries come along. Really cool players. I'm going to pronounce his name horrendously, but it's like Nephir, and he's like the our like pride, sort of our pride priest, I suppose. And yeah, that turns out to be really important later on. After that, I learn, and bear in mind, all this is happening, and I'm still preparing for the fact that we're going to have the telling for Sinwig, which is a major thing that I have to be there for, right?
Mm-hmm. So it's going to happen at 7, right?
Yeah, and this is going to happen at 7. But we didn't even know that at that time. We hadn't even set the time because it's a lot's going on, right? And
no, we said it after the battle, right?
I don't think we did, or I didn't hear about it.
You definitely did.
Okay, but anyway, I learned during that time that one of the Navarchas had been struck by a Dornish captain.
During one of the skirmishes, right?
Yeah.
Was it like, they'd ordered them to get into the line, and the Navarcha had refused and had cleaved him across the face, I heard.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
That sounds very dramatic, by the way. Cleaved across the face is very dramatic.
Exactly.
Like, I can't even picture that happening. Like, how did two players be like, oh, I'm going to cleave you, but across the face sounds very dramatic to me.
Of course. Like, bear in mind, I was not there. Like, but the reality is that I have to, like, it's a big deal, right?
Yeah, you didn't go, though. Like, you told Caro, right? And then he went off to the militia, right?
Oh, no, I was talking to other people.
But did you go and... What did you do? Did you go and sort it out?
I can't talk about...
Oh, spicy.
Yeah, so, look...
We shouldn't even brought it up.
Yeah.
Like, if it isn't done game yet, then we should just not mention it. But yeah,
But the reality of this was basically... I had that, something that I was kind of dealing with. And then we go... I also found out that's when I found out about Morgan and Ash as well. Like, this was all happening like rapidly, and Morgan's a member of the Starseekers, who's like an important person. He's grown to an important person in the group, right? So it's like that's another big death. And Ash, as we went over before, was like a newer sort of person coming to Anvil. And so there's that ramped on. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, with the bubbles. And at this point, the bubbles have like become like a thing where I'm using them like cigarettes, right? And it's like, so I went off to the corner and I just started like nervously blowing bubbles out, muttering to myself like they stabbed one of my guys, right? Like, just like blowing bubbles out. And and some people kind of came up to me and I was like, they stabbed one of my guys, right? It was so good. All of this is going on, and then it's time for the telling. Before that, like these players are all still terminal, right? And the ramifications of all these things are still going on. It's not time yet for the telling, when we're going to sort of process it all. So I see Caddock, and he tells me about Morgan's death, right? And he's like, really, it's a big deal. And so it's like, it was cool to do like Talus's kind of place in the group on like I don't know, like a counselling kind of like the person you would come to talk to about stuff level.
Yeah, you're friends with Caddock, right?
Like,
it's good.
It kind of worked. So it was kind of like we did the whole thing about talking about like, what it's like to be a physic and all that kind of RP. It was really cool. The things you see that other people don't see, all of that kind of stuff, right? And yeah, it was cool. And then on the way back, met up with Morgan. And just was, he's terminal, right? So we're just having a chat with him, and it was just like, it's emotional times, right? This is his first character. You invest a lot of yourself in your first character. He's grown to like establish his character, and now he's gone, right? Like, it's a lot. So it's like it's major emotional feels going into all of this, right? There's so many different angles, right? Like Fang, Morgan, Ash, Sinwig, it's a lot, right? All leading into this telling. So I knew it was going to be a big one. And again, I was kind of like, oh, man, I really need... I can't really do the skirmishes at this point. Again, right? Because I really did want to go on one. Like, as I said, I want to do like a battle skirmish a monster. That's kind of what I want to aim for, just physically, for what I can manage, right? Mm-hmm. But it was just like... Yeah, no, like it's a lot to have done the stuff I've done so far, like physically, like, and this is going to be a big thing that I have to be there for. But it was actually really cool, like Navarre being Navarre, like talking to people and saying like, I have a really important funeral I have to attend, and people just being like, yeah, I totally get you, I'm down, like I'll cover the thing, don't you worry, I've got you. Mm-hmm. It was like that. There's so many cool people who help you like that. So massive props to the nation as a whole, really, because. For example, the Entwined Past, we got asked if we could give some people for a skirmish, and a big one. And it was like, we were like, nah, that we actually have like something right now we actually can't, right? And like, which there's quite a few people, right? So it's quite a lot to actually, for everybody else to then swallow up what we, some of that, right? So it was, Navarre just being fucking awesome, basically. Then I decided, like, what I kind of, after sort of dealing with that and having, like, all of that sort of weight taken off my mind, I was like, I'm just going to chill and RP, like, do some lighter RP, nothing massive performative. So I just went to where the fireball was, and I did, like, some, like, meditation there as Talus. But, like, it was cool, like...
What did you do? Did you sit down and cross legs by the thing?
No, it was more like just sitting down on one of the benches. Yeah, and I just properly it wasn't like full on.
It's hard to say with Talus nowadays, man. Like you have to give some like descriptors of what you're doing.
Yeah, but it was like, it was interesting because I was kind of sitting there just kind of saying like our words as a striding, from ashes we rise, from sorrows we grow, and that kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
And so it was like I'm G'ing myself up for it.
Are you talking to yourself?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's kind of weird. I know it's weird, potentially.
Edgy. So edgy.
But then it's time to go to the telling.
Yeah.
And just going into this, one thing I really wanted to say, sorry, just to sort of really pop in was like, bear in mind I've stepped down from my position in the Ashbourne, which means that Bungle has taken my position, and part of that position is to basically run the tellings, which is like an Ashbourne tradition that has basically expanded into the Entwined Paths, and it's so good.
We should explain what that is. A telling is basically when one of our members dies, what we do is we come together and we tell stories about that person to remember them by. And the idea is by telling stories that we can remember who they were and then internalize some of the aspects that were so virtuous about them and take them onto ourselves like a living memory within the story. And that's kind of how we approach this. So I knew like Sinwig Callum was going to die. Okay, so I had I put some feelers out to see if I could get a couple of people to play potentially or perform. If they were available and what that would be involved. And I managed to get... I talked to our friend Pud, who plays a wonderful scop in Wintermark. Carrick?
Carrick, yeah. I think it's Carrick, yeah.
But, like, took me a little bit of time to track him down. When I did, it was just like, hey, like, explained to him the situation I see, and then gave him, like, he was like, fine. I was just like... Gave him a couple of coins because it's it was polite, It was just like he was like, no, pay me off this. I was like, listen, I'm gonna be a fucking mess later on. Let me give you a couple of coins now, make sure it's done, and then we can sort it out. But,
it's a lot for you going in, right? It's a lot for everyone.
It was a big emotional thing, and it's like I think it's like we can go into like, oh, how do we feel about this and stuff like this? But like honestly, I just really enjoyed sharing the feels with some really close friends and like really celebrate the experiences we've had over Empire. It was just really, really nice. I think Bungle did a superb job in being the master of ceremonies, putting it out, and I think like we were struggling early, right? Like the first few stories started coming out about Simwig, and we were already pretty upset, and then we were like, oh yeah, we'll stop crying we'll let Pud play. And I was like, it seems almost like cheating, because I wanted it to be like, I wanted it to be special, I wanted it to be emotional.
Yeah.
But Jesus.
Oh man, the song was so good. Everyone singing. It was the perfect song as well.
I spoke to Pud about it before, and I know this sounds very bad, like it's OC, but it's like, I wanted it to be really good. So like, Pud talked to me about which song he was going to sing, and it was just perfect, and it was like, well, it's a song about not being able to tell the stories about somebody.
Put it this way: there's a big difference between, say, wanting to create a social great environment
I don't give a fuck. Like it was totally worth it.
Oh,
like,
100%. It was amazing. But what I'm saying is, there's a big difference from doing that and doing something like actually spilling beans on plot that you should explore. I see. They're totally different fishes of things.
Yeah, I agree. But like the song was perfect because it was about telling stories, or not being able to tell stories about a person, or not having done that. And then actually, what we're doing is we're telling the stories of the people. So I actually had this perfect note.
Yeah,
man. I'm sitting opposite from Callum, Sinwig.
Yeah.
And he's barely keeping it together, and I just felt like so compelled just to go over, and I gave him a big hug, and we just both erupt in tears, and like Callum's ugly crying, and like he starts laughing, and it's just this big charged emotional fucking moment, and it was just really fucking cool just to experience that with a homie, basically.
Massively.
Big feels.
We've been huge influences on each other's games and each other's lives as people as well. Right?
It was. I wrote a little poem, which I won't read now. It's fine. It was. I wrote a poem about the loss, which I then later performed at Songs and Stories. Which I'll talk about actually. And then we went for everyone else, and like Jim's character Morgan and Fang dying, and it was just this, and Ash. It was just. Just awful. It was not awful. It was brilliant.
Yes.
It was amazing.
It was quite interesting because obviously everyone is like RPing like all the things, but there's also a lot. It's a lot, right? So, but I'm like, where Talis is with it is like very much like, you know, like he literally does the whole thing like, why do we do the tellings, right? And explains it to the group, right? And that's his kind of thing. And it's like, but then you're also telling a story about Sinwig and doing one for Morgan, for example.
Do you know what?
It's like,
I loved how like the Reapers showed up, and like they just came to the edge of the camp and just waited solemnly. We had some High Guard guys come over, and they were there for Morgan, and like Rusty Compass showed up and did like some like a Mongolian throat harp stuff.
So good.
And it was just like one of those things where it was just like, I loved how like, because obviously I'm emotionally invested in what's happening, but to see everyone else just like show up to show respects and like take it so solemnly and seriously, and we laughed at the same time. We laughed in the tears, but like most people, most of the time were like, we took it on and just really reveled in the emotions and feelings of that moment, and it was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pud, by the way.
Yeah,
thank
massive thanks to Pud.
everyone else.
Yeah.
Really amazing. Yeah. Callum, I'll miss you, buddy.
Yeah.
In the fucking league with your fancy fucking house friends.
He's going to look amazing.
Mate, didn't leave me a fucking penny in the will. Terrible bloke. He did make me a very inappropriate gift, which is a small vial with a substance inside of it that looks a lot like a bodily function. And I had a little note attached to it, and then now I have that around my neck now. So that's brilliant. So that's great. That's something that Gellert will always carry with him. A very suspicious looking vial to always remember his husband by. Yeah, awesome though.
So after the telling kind of winds down, this wonderful chap comes along with like these lemon muffins and other kind of really nice eatery stuff, and the prospect of you can either buy it or you can gamble. And the gamble thing is like a wheel that he presses and it spins round, and it's like a free stage higher and lower, but there's a little crown on the wheel as well, which is like if during any of the free rolls the spinner lands on the crown, you get a crown. And it was just like, it was just enough, like, you know what I mean, like it was a perfect game for like what you want from like LARP RP.
If that person isn't hustling that game, you're a fool. You should be hustling that game.
Of course.
Have a little pressure switch on the back.
So I go and I'm like, I have this lemon muffin and I want to gamble for it. And like I'm, you know, again, full Talis, so it's like Talis has got like a slight kind of gambling sort of addiction kind of thing, is like, which I don't lean into probably enough, but it's fine. I enjoy it actually.
You're just a hedonist at this stage.
Yeah, basically. And I spin the wheel and it lands on the crown and I win a crown, so I get my lemon muffin and the crown and I'm happy as Larry. And literally like, and this guy is amazing. Like the RP on all of this is insanely cool. And then right behind him come in, I think, some Varushkans, and they had for sale a coconut with a straw, like a wooden straw. And it was 10 rings, and I was like, well, I just earned a crown. and I really want that coconut with a straw. So I bought it, and it was such a cool RP just to have like these immediate turnarounds of good fortune.
It's like your character knows no bounds of ridiculousness. Have you ever seen anything as ridiculous as a man drinking from a bowl with a oversized bamboo fucking straw? Like, what's wrong with using your fucking lips on the bowl? Why are you using such an impractical fucking drinking device that is very shallow?
It's pretty bad, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot.
I mean... yeah. Hey, but then something really good happened.
Yes, so I heard basically... I mean, it's quite late at this point, right? A lot's been going on. So then Silver comes up to me and he's like... the skirmishes went really, really well. Like, really well. And what I heard was like they got like a massive praise from like the people involved, and like they gave them a bunch of things as a thank you, and like it was really cool, right? Just to see like everyone involved really kind of like sort of, I feel like really established, like there's a certain quality to it.
They got actual commendation.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Yeah,
which is like a pretty big deal.
A pretty big deal.
I think Wynn got one as well.
Yeah, I think so. And it's super cool, right?
Yeah,
so I was so proud of everyone.
The military, like, they give commendations to units or people that have done something really great, and I think that's such a cool idea.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to know whether you're fighting hard or organising the right way or really kicking ass, like, getting a commendation absolutely rocks.
I mean, like, everyone's just killing it. And bear in mind, like, I think it's just all down to just the quality of the people, really, and the communication. They're just fantastic. But that was really cool. And then also on top of that, a chap comes round with like a bag of flint arrowheads, like as a sort of a thank you to the Navarchers. Ridiculously cool.
Yeah, they looked awesome.
Right, and I'm going around to the people where I know where they are, and like giving them out. It was so cool. Like what an amazing thing to do. Right, like the feels for everybody. Like people are emotional. You know what I mean? It's like a lot. Right, like it was super cool. It was super cool just as a little thing.
Yeah, the keepsake of having an arrowhead as well is like pretty cool.
Yeah,
as well,
it was just
like,
it's just awesome RP. So
yeah, I've been walking around with security all the time.
Right,
and basically,
how credible for context did you believe at this point your risks to your security were?
At that point, not very high, because I'd been walking around all weekend and like some of the really sketchy shit that had been happening before wasn't happening.
Right. You weren't getting the same vibe, right?
Not at all. Like there was no like. See, I don't even know whether there was stuff happening or not. Right?
Of course.
This is a whole conversation, which I won't go into because a lot of it's kind of
of course.
Yeah. But like. But I was like, I felt pretty confident that no one was trying to kill me, or at least if they were trying to kill me, they were being lazy ass about it and weren't going to actively try and seek me out, right? So I just decided that I would just leave without bung and without any other security and just go for a walk around, and it was really nice.
I'm sure it must be, dude. I think this is the thing, and it goes into what you were saying, I think, a bit earlier, which is like your game is really intense, like, and it's like ultimately you need to cut a little bit of space aside for yourself to just have fun.
Yeah, I need to. Right? I need to do this like so much more. To be like, here's what I'm going to do as part of my job.
Yeah,
and then like have very clear, this is what we're doing. I think it's like different now. Now I've got the neutrality through. Everything else on top of this is just fucking gravy, basically.
Yeah. Well, because that's one thing that happened, right? The neutrality.
Well, hold on. Yeah, spoilers. Yeah. Like. I then went to Senate, right. And it was the big day trying to get my motion through of this neutrality bill. Zadkill had a proxy who I've never met before, but they were amazing. They did such a good job. But it was one of those, you all go into Senate, there's big hubbub, loads of all the senators are chatting to each other, I'm talking to people that I know, then Bam Bam goes around and collects all the weapons of all the different people, which is quite nice. It's kind of one of those things that you're like, hey, this is now Senate time, like security's like taking all the weapons, guarding the door, there's like, now we go into it, and you sit in like a little antechamber, and there was like the, advisor to the Fenny roll was up, and they got held by the incumbent, and then which was cool just seeing all of that play out. Like all these elections are really good, and again, really good candidates. Both candidates were excellent, but then finally I'm up, and I have to walk out in front of everyone as an expert witness, and they bring the motion forward, and basically fielding questions from the thing. I think I did pretty good. There was one question I answered that is a debatable answer, which I'm still like, ugh, man.
It's tough when you're in the moment, right? And you have to pull something out from what's your mind, right?
Yeah, and it's also different perspectives. I think both people could be correct depending on how you wanted to answer that question. Anyway, shit's complicated.
Wording's very difficult on the fly, right?
But I did have a couple of really nice slam dunks, which were really good, where I was just like, I know this is the correct answer to this question, and my motion went through by a slamming majority, like an absolute landslide victory, and it was really, really nice. I felt I felt pretty rough about everything, and then to come through with the Senate motion, that was basically my entire game as a character, as an ambassador, which had been set up from the moment I become ambassador, just to try and get this Neutrality Act through, despite everything else, despite the Liberty Pact and everything else, managed to get this through. It felt fucking amazing. I literally punched the air as I came out of the Senate, hooping and hollering, having the best time. Really, really proud of that. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen next with Yarm. Probably nothing good. But hey, at least
it's incredible, right?
Did one thing to try and make things better, right? At least one thing I managed to do. So hey, I'll fucking take it. I may not be. I don't even know. At this stage, I'm like, am I a shit ambassador? Am I a good ambassador? Am I should someone else be doing this job? These are all thoughts that are going through my head, right? It's a really. I'm learning so much on the job, and unfortunately, a lot of the stuff you learn by just making absolute mardies of situations or misunderstanding or whatever the hell. It's I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep doing my thing. I don't know whether I'll be successful or not in things, but what's interesting is it's opened my eyes up to a whole bunch of other aspects of the game, which are really cool. Different factions that are really interesting when I talk to them about what's going on with my stuff are really engaged and really want part of that game. So there's some stuff actually I should talk on Sunday. There was a Dornish lady who's a vigilance priest looking for me, and I was just really curious about some of the information. I'll talk about that on Sunday.
Okay.
Maybe. I think having a hat is a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of a new experience dealing with some of the more PvP aspects, and dealing with players that played with each other for a long time that have established relationships, and you come in a bull in the china shop, right? It's difficult, right?
Yeah.
But
of course,
at the end of the day, still worthwhile in my eyes, right?
Think of all, not just the game for yourself, but the game that has happened. Outside of that.
I've met so many awesome people, and it's really cool having people where. When you're talking about these are my, and sometimes it can feel I'm the only person that's trying to get this done, or at least the that's not the way it is, by the way. I'm always aware there's loads of people trying to help me, but you're kind of powerless is basically what I'm trying to describe, right? The sensation that you're man, I'm trying so hard, but it doesn't, there are bigger things at force than I am. But then throughout this, you realise hold on, I'm making these really good connections with like-minded people who have very similar interests in what the game is and how to play it. And it's so, even if I'm thrown out of office as ambassador, or we go to war or something like this, Gellert Ashbourne will continue and this will all be part of his story at the end of the day.
I love it. It's something that you actually made happen, right? You and other people, obviously, everybody who helped out.
I don't know. I think I was part of it, but I don't know how big a part of it I was. It's interesting. We can talk endlessly about this, but
sure.
Let's move on.
So at this stage, I've decided that I'm gonna, all the stuff with the telling and everything. It was a lot. I'm gonna head out and party, right? I just need to sort of cut loose and just get back in the vibe. So I head off to go to a place on the Brass Coast where I'm going to listen to some smut reading, if you might remember last time, I mentioned Big Daddy Darius's smart readings over in Nebraska.
God bless that man and what he does.
Oh. But on the way, while there for a little while, which was great, I was kind of hanging out, I found out that the hospital had been cursed. And
who curses a hospital?
I have no idea what happened.
Who curses a hospital?
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably some outrageously good icy reasons for this, but
whatever happened
just
is bonkers.
For the lols, I don't even know. It's Empire. Who knows why people do the things they do?
But like Bastiana's there, and I'm like, we're catching up, but she's like, hospital's cursed, like continuously, right? Like, every sentence ends with, and hospital is cursed, because it's like such a big thing. Because the RP with all of the different people who hang at the hospital, the fact that the hospital was cursed was just like everybody. They were like a really grumpy group of like medical sort of experts who had been kicked out of their hospital, right? But each of them taking it in different ways and organising people in different ways. The RP was insane. But so Bastian asked me to be like her assistant for when we got people coming in from the skirmish, because of course hospitals closed. So there was a couple of skirmishes came through, and we sort of stand there basically, and she's like, "That's it, Talis, put your hand nice and high." We're like, "This is so good." And then we get this person come in, and he's basically like been cleaved in the leg, right? And we're doing this RP to like fix his leg, and I'm like, I'll throw him some distracting bubbles to like keep his mind off it.
Please come up with some half magic stuff for next time,
and,
please.
It was like, and then we were extracting this sword that was sort of is impaled in him, right? And she's like, "Right, Talis, grab this with me, or we'll pull it out." And I go and I grab the blade, and she's like, "Not the blade, Talis!" And it's so good. And the RP was amazing.
That's hilarious.
And then we kind of, we go through all this thing, like healing him up. But then hospital is cursed, so Bastiana basically just had to stay there. And I decided I wanted to head back and listen to the smut reading, and I listened to the first story, and then you guys came along.
Yeah, we'd done Senate. We were mooching around. We were trying to find a couple other people. We were trying to find that Dornish person who had some information for us. So we were trying to look up for them, and then we were like, "What time was that invite?" Because you'd written us like on a piece of paper like a time and a place. We looked at it. It was like 9:00, and it was like around 10, and we were like, "Oh, it's still on." I was like, "Hey, we can try." Sat down there. I think just as when it was getting going, really, it was great.
It's good. It's a good time.
Big Daddy Darius is like, he's awesome. He's like holding court. It's reading these smut stories. Like,
the voices
really
are
hilarious.
so good.
But it's more
and like you were suggesting voices, and
it's more like a smut review rather than smut reading. I would say it's
a group smut critique.
People are very critical of said smut. In fact, some of the smut that we read at first, it started off with like an expose of different models, I guess you could say, each with different flavours, likes and interests, and then it was a kind of a voting on which of these we preferred, and it was very telling who was into what. And it was also funny, like there was that one which was like a lady and she had like a sword and a shield and nothing else, and it was like, who likes her the most, and everyone put their head up. It was like, oh, it looks, who's here into martial stuff? And it's like all the people that are into like the more martial aspects of the game are really into this, right? And it's like really fun. It's just really funny. The second one was like a story about, wow, it was a weird story, wasn't it? It was a very strange little story. But the fun thing about it was he was saying like, Darius was like, oh, does this person have an accent? And I was like, oh, well, I think this person has a French accent actually. And so for the rest of the story, Darius did one of the characters in a very humorous French accent that made the whole story that much better for its... I would describe it as awkward sexuality is how I would describe that story.
I think it's very important to say all of this is very, very self-aware. Yes. Everything is like, we are the joke, right? Everybody participating is the joke, right? And
I think it goes into the good old-fashioned titillation of stuff without the sometimes negative historical concepts. This was a very equal opportunities titillation.
Yes. It was so funny,
and I think everyone involved had a really wonderful time. Yeah.
So after that, I don't actually really know where you guys went. But
I pretty much, I for the first time all weekend, listening to some smut being read out by Daddy Darius, I lay down and relaxed next to a fire and enjoyed a drink, and it just tiredness washed over me. And I'm not saying this in a it was boring and therefore it was more like
I think you really were physically exhausted.
I was just like I'm relaxed now. It's like and I need to think about this so much more, as trying to take these opportunities just to chill the fuck out and like relax.
I really wanted you to come. I really wanted you to come. I was so pleased you chose.
It was really fun. And then headed off, and basically I think we did one lap around Dawn and Wintermark, and then I think I went to bed. And instead of just usually I'll hang with Bang or someone else and we'll chat, and I was just like, I gotta hit the hay. Like I had so much to process on in my mind that I was just like, I don't think I even fell asleep that quickly. I was just in bed, listening to the goings on and just being like, just in my own thoughts for like a good hour, at least an hour. But
I mean, you have been like that. This is the culmination of a lot of things, so it's a lot that you. Yeah,
it's also like I think it's like if I come across as too negative, like I don't want to sound that way. I think like when life presents you with challenges or new things, or you see starts that you want to improve yourself, sometimes it can be a hard process. But I think it was like it's thought provoking, but I want to learn. I want to kind of take it on and all that stuff. It's just knackering and means that I need to like take an early night and get some sleep.
I think it was the right decision, dude. I think it was the right decision.
We should what else did you do on the Saturday night?
Then there's the songs and stories.
I forgot I did my poem at Songs and Stories, by the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you did say earlier, but like, how'd it go?
It was good. Right? It was really good. Like, I was kind of nervous going in, because basically the whole entire thing was Sinwig had a whole thing where his character used to say "sexy times," and it was a kind of a joke meme thing. So I wanted to turn this kind of silly expression into something quite more serious and solemn. Yeah, and that was kind of my intent. And I think it came off quite well. I was very aware it was after 10 o'clock when I went. There were a lot of very young children there, and it kind of like, hey, there was nothing blue in my story, but potentially there could be very blue things coming in at that time of night. And I was like, I'm not telling people how to raise their kids, but holy shit, like, be prepared, right? Like, what if Captain Prospero rocked up there? Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, because you can only tell stories before 11 o'clock usually, right? Yeah. So whatever you're doing, like, I don't know how I would feel about telling certain stories, and I want to tell them as best as I can because I'm entertaining an adult audience, right? Because it's an adult lot. But it was a little off-putting having such young people there when I was doing it, if I'm being honest. But hey, that's what it was. So what did you? So you went to Songs and Stories? Yeah,
but at this point I was there quite late. I think basically I'd been pulled around on a bunch of different things, including a bunch of stuff I can't talk about, and that just kind of like extended things. So I was a lot later to Songs and Stories, basically towards the end. But sitting on the end of Saturday Songs and Stories, after actually a long time of not doing that, was so good. I got to like join the fire circle and dance with when the Doots were going, which is like this lady who plays like this recorder breakdown kind of thing. It's so good. And then at the end there's a song that you'll know very well, which is like one beat, one heart, one time, one call. And it's like this thing where we all gather around the fireball and we're like thrusting swords or whatever weapon you have like over the fireball in the middle. I was right there in the middle, loads of really cool people around me. It was awesome.
The big
awesome. It was like full on, like I hadn't actually like, right, because at this time as well, like a lot of people had been like approaching me, and I've been thinking a lot about like the idea of being sort of dedicated to Pride, just because fucking Tellis loves the Navarre, right? Like really loves it, and I just love to be like to have that. So it was good, but so it's like it was a really cool kind of way, because it's like having that as almost like a kind of a nice kind of nighttime send off to all of that idea and what I'm going to try and hopefully do next event was really, really cool. And then there's just like a really cool sort of OC hangout and mingle like after songs and stories, because that's literally time out, and it's just really nice to walk around with everybody, just talk to everybody.
It's nice like chatting to people like out of character and touching base with them as they're outside their character, isn't it? Like,
it's just so awesome. That whole sort of mood as well, like everyone's really enjoyed it. Bear in mind the Parting Glass gets sung as well, which is a really cool song to close out songs and stories. It's really fucking cool. And that's just Saturday, basically. Just an awesome day. Super heavy. I was so tired. That was the main thing. But look, we're in for Sunday tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll come back before Sunday.
Thank you.
Bye.